PR Connections Radio presents.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. I'm your host, Jesse Oakley III, and the purpose of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is where I get to interview a plethora of positive people that are making big differences in their communities. Whether they're authors, speakers, writers, entertainers, anybody that's doing anything for the community, you'll hear from them first on the Sunday Morning Chat Series. Now today we have ourselves a wonderful show and a wonderful guest. Now many of the people out there that are watching this podcast have known that I've written a book called Greetings Happy People, The Positive Words of Wisdom Through the Eyes of Mr. I, which is now on Amazon. And I always have some great feelings and great affections for people that have written books before. And this guest today, oh my goodness, what can I say? She has written amazing books that have made big differences in lives and in people in the community. And it's truly an honor to actually get a chance to interview this wonderful, lovely lady. So please help me welcome author Diane Windingland. Hey, Diane, how's it going?
Great. It's a pleasure to be here today, Jesse.
Oh, my goodness. Because I'm so great to be here because, again, we talk about big differences and positive people. I look no further than you, Diane, and the books that you've written. And I really want to get a chance to know, about the books and about the adventures and everything else. And I'm excited. I'm pumped about it.
All right. Let's get going.
All right. Without further delay, let's chat. Okay. Now, the first question I have for you is, how did you get your start in becoming an author?
Well, I can give you an exact date, July 30th, 2010. And that's when I had a free coaching session with Mark LeBlanc, who is a business consultant, and he is a former president of the National Speakers Association. Oh. And during our coaching session, he said, you need to write a book. A book is your best business card ever. And I was thinking, And then he said, you can do it next month. And I started having those thoughts that swirl in your head when you're given an idea that you hadn't really thought of. And I thought, I have no time, no money, no knowledge. And I really didn't have those things. For the no time, I was homeschooling a couple of kids. I had 3 teenagers. I was working 2 part-time jobs. And then for the no money, we had actually started a technology business that was failing. We'd purchased it and it was failing. And later that year, we would be declaring bankruptcy. And then with the no knowledge, I knew nothing about writing a book or publishing. I'd never attended a class or watched a YouTube video or anything. But the words that came out of my mouth were, yes, I can do that. And 3 months later, I held a published book in my hand. I think I have it right here. My first book was Small Talk, Big Results, Chit Chat Your Way to Success. Very, very short book, about 70 pages. And most of it I'd already written on a blog. And many of those blogs actually originally came from Toastmaster speeches. So I was reusing content.
Oh my goodness, that's truly fantastic. You definitely wonder about the start, and what better time than to just go out there and do it and look at the end result, your first book. So truly fantastic, amazing. Next question I have for you is, speaking of that book, besides that book, how many other books have you written in your career as an author?
Well, since 2010, I have published a total of 12 books. And I will say it is not something that I've gotten rich on. I probably have earned, I actually did just look this up the other day, knowing that I'd be on this podcast. And my total number of royalties in dollars is $68,000 since 2010. So again, I'm not going to get rich. But my publishing costs were also very small. They were self-published books. My total cost for all 12 books to self-publish was a little under $3,000. Some of them I did for free. My biggest seller, and I'll show you it. I'm in the middle of rewriting it because it really needs to be rewritten, was Speech Class for Teens. And that has probably been half of my income. And I'd originally written it because I was teaching a homeschool speech class for teens. And I'd done it 1 year. And the next year I was dreading having to make binders for 20 students. And I thought, well, maybe if I just put it on Amazon, then I could buy it for myself and I don't have to make 20 binders. And maybe someone else will want to use it. And yes, a lot of people wanted to use it. If I would have known that, I would have made it a better book. So I'm finally getting around to revising it. I'm editing a revision right now, so it will be drastically better. But I just found a way to do it for fairly low cost. Some of the books I've spent more money on. I think a couple of books ago, I did 100 tips and tricks to appear confident in presentations. And I have 103 illustrations. So I paid somebody at Fiverr, a guy from Pakistan, I think about $600, which is like a year's worth of income for them in Pakistan to make 103 illustrations. So that was probably one of my more expensive books.
Oh my goodness, those are a plethora of books that you do have there. And I tell you what, as you were talking about the stories and everything else, you got me, you've done pretty good if you get me right here. And that's just a darn good feeling that you actually hear about the books that you've written. And we'll get to later in the podcast about how to get access to those books. So again, you got me right here. You really do. Now, the next question I have for you is, we all have those challenges as authors, whether it be writing blogs or getting off the track or getting off the block and actually getting a chance to do something about writing a book. What were some of the challenges that you faced in becoming an author?
Well, one of the first challenges was I'd gotten some bad advice. I had been part of the National Speakers Association Speakers Academy, and we had speakers come in, and one of those speakers was someone who helped people publish books. And I was so excited because I had this idea of maybe someday doing a book based on my blog content. And she poo-pooed that idea. She said, oh no, people want something different. You can't use your blog. And I'm like, well, okay, I probably won't do a book then. So that when I told Mark LeBlanc that, he said, you know what? You don't have to take everybody's advice. You can just do it. And so I had to overcome that bad advice. I did have to, now this is neither positive or negative. I did not have any knowledge about what to do. So I remember after I'd written the book, it was the day after Labor Day in 2010, when I actually got to my computer and Googled how to self-publish, because I had not a clue. And I just went from there. It was after I published my first book, I thought, maybe I should read a book on self-publishing. And I got one from the library. It was about 2 inches thick. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm glad I didn't read this first, because I might have been intimidated and overwhelmed by all the stuff I was supposed to do. So my first book wasn't perfect, and I maybe didn't do everything I should have done, but it got published. And I would also say the biggest issue for most people is finding the time to write. And that was a little bit of an issue for me for the first book, because although I was mostly going to use the blog content, I did have some other things I wanted to add. And at the time, with the 3 teenagers, the 2 part-time jobs, the only time I really had to myself was early in the morning, like 5:45 to 6:45 a.m. And so I basically spent 20 hours in the month of August getting things together, adding a little more content. And that was all I needed for that particular book. So lack of knowledge, the bad advice, and finding the time to write. And now it's really easy to procrastinate when it comes to writing. So I have found what is helpful is to reuse content, where for my third book, Cat Got Your Tongue, I actually decided to build that over several months through a blog. And then I tied my blog to a newsletter, and I ended up using quite a lot of content where I actually planned out the blog so that it could eventually become chapters, short chapters in a book.
Oh my goodness. And you talk about those challenges that you faced with the bad advice, the procrastination, and everything else. You had the challenges, and somehow the challenges, you go right through them. And on the other side of the challenge, you became an author. So this happy people, if you're watching this out there, this is a great example of how you had challenges right in front of you, and you actually step up to challenges and overcome them. And Diane is a great example of overcoming the challenges. Really appreciate the share the stories, Diane. And talk about now we have challenges. Now let's go right into the best moments. What were some of the best moments in your work as an author?
Well, I think it is when someone tells me that something in one of my books has helped them. I've had a few people who actually have purchased the book who know me personally, and they say, it's like you're right there with me. I can hear your voice as I read the book. So I'm able to be with someone when I can't physically be there and help people that way. And if I could share, Jesse, I looked back on our Facebook messages, and way back in 2022, not that far back,
Right.
you were running for Toastmasters International Director, and you had gotten my, I don't even know where I put it. Oh, here it is, my impromptu speaking book. And this is what you wrote. I copied it and I have it right here. Your book is helping me out big time with a heart. Answering the questions using Prep, Star, and CAR method for starters. When I saw that, I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. This will help me tighten up my answers more when I'm being asked a question. Your prep strategy helped with a 2-minute speech. Your book made a huge difference in where I'm standing right now. Thank you very much. So you even actually made a short little video. I think it was something saying I was awesome. Oh, so that was great. I really appreciated that, Jesse. You made me happy that day.
Ooh, I tell you, you really blew my mind. And go looking back at that is truly a helpful advice. Actually, that book, that Table Topics book, was truly helpful in becoming international director. And I tell you what, it took a team effort to actually get to the point of international director. Whether it is my campaign chair, my wife Dana Wall Oakley, or whether it's a team actually going over everything else with the questions and everything else. And that book, that Table Topics books, was a perfect icing on the cake for getting the answers done. And I tell you, without you and without everything else, none of this would have been possible. And it took a whole team effort. And that was truly an amazing moment. And Diane, thank you for those books. Those books are truly amazing. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad they were helpful. In fact, this particular book, I had a client that I was working on with presentation skills, and she said, I'd really like to work on impromptu speaking. Do you have a coaching program for impromptu speaking? And I'm like, no, but I can make one up. And so I made an 8-session coaching program for impromptu speaking. I put it on my blog. I made some videos. And then I said, okay, a couple years later, now it's time to put it all together in a book, because there weren't that many books on impromptu speaking. So I thought, there's a little bit of a niche here. And I'm trying to remember when I did this. This was maybe a year or so after the pandemic. And I noticed that I was getting a lot more requests for people when it came to impromptu speaking, interviewing skills. It's as if people had lost a little bit of communication skill during the pandemic because they didn't talk in person quite as much, or even sometimes not on video very often either.
Ooh, I tell you, this makes a big difference. And oh my goodness, happy people, you're getting a good interview if I get this type of stuff in my system and say, man, this is what it's all about. This is the intent of the whole podcast, and getting guests like Diane and telling stories and the best moments and everything. This is what it's all about, happy people. positive people making a big difference in the community. And I'm just feeling very excited about this. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Now, speaking of excitement and speaking of being inspiration and everything else, Diane, let's say that you meet somebody. Well, let's say you meet someone that is inspired, that has been inspired by your work, and they want to do what you're doing. They want to be in the shoes of Diane Windingland. If you can offer any advice to someone who is blown away by what you're doing, someone that's inspired by what you're doing, but wanted to be in your shoes, what advice would you give them?
Well, first I'd say you got to walk in your own shoes. You can be inspired by somebody else, but you can't do it exactly the same. And looking specifically at becoming an author, I know that's something a lot of people want to do, or maybe they think, oh, that would be great, but I really can't do that. I have to tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. I didn't know anything. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the knowledge. But if you decide to do something, you can make it happen. There's some advice I have for people that are looking at writing a book, and that would be number one, to know what your why is. Why do you want to write a book? It could be that you want to build credibility for some other aspect of your life, maybe a business, maybe your career, and a book does help build credibility. You might want to leave a legacy where you have some words of advice or some wisdom or some experience that you want to share that can go beyond what you might reach out to people personally. And I would say I'd be careful about writing a book for money, because that maybe doesn't happen all that often. I've been fortunate that I have made money in all of my books. Not a lot of money. Maybe we've paid for some vacations, but I would be very cautious about spending a lot of money in publishing a book, because you might not get that back. I have a friend who spent about $45,000 with a book publishing company, and it was, I think, maybe a 3-year contract. And she didn't get the book written. So then she had to extend the contract, and there was a fee every month. And then she still didn't get the book written. So I don't know, she might have been out $50,000 and she didn't even have a book. So be careful on how much money you spend and learn just enough. I would say if I were to do it over again, I might have done some more searching on ways to write a book and ways to publish a book, and spent a little time in advance. And I would definitely say do some research. You can use research, go on Amazon, see what books are out there on your topic. Read the reviews. Reviews can be very enlightening. They can tell you what resonates with people, what doesn't resonate with people. You can look typically at table of contents to get ideas for your own content for your book as well. And then to have a plan. You know, you want to create a promotion plan. How are you going to promote this book? I'm a big fan of a launch team where you have friends, associates, if you have a newsletter list, and offer them a free copy of the book for either comments, but when it comes out, they'll be ready to post a review on Amazon. And then maybe you might use some review sites. I've used BookBub with good results. And social media, maybe you'll do a video, maybe you'll put it on social media, but you need to have a promotion plan. You don't want to just publish your book and like hope it sells. You want to get the word out. So you need to dedicate some time for that as well.
That is true. That is definitely true. And I just have to go back. You know, it took you 3,000 for one end, but 50,000? 50,000?
Oh, 68,000 is what I added it up on Amazon. Yeah.
All I gotta say is, oh my strawberries. That's a big difference. My goodness. Woo.
Well, it was a good ROI, and I will have to admit that I did not spend that much time. Most of my books I've worked on like from start to finish, very part-time over a few months,
Right.
where maybe I'll work on a Saturday, maybe a day here or there. But one book I actually did in one day. It was kind of a self-dare where I was going to be talking about self-publishing ebooks at a National Speakers Association meeting. And I thought, well, wonder if I could do it in a day. And so I had just done a blog series. I thought, I bet I could make that into a short book. So I started at 9 a.m. and by 4 p.m. I had a self-published ebook.
Whoa,
Right.
that is truly remarkable. Oh my goodness. And all in one day, am I correct?
Right. Yes. So it's possible.
It is possible, definitely possible. And speaking of possibilities, what are the possibilities of people looking for information regarding your books? Where could they actually go to know more about your books that you've written, Diane?
Amazon is where I have them. So if you put my name in, Diane Windingland, in Amazon, I will say probably the books that are most helpful for people are Impromptu Speaking, which is on Impromptu Speaking, Cat Got Your Tongue, which is on presentations, the mindset, building a presentation, delivering a presentation. And then this is just kind of fun. 100 tips and tricks to appear confident in presentations. If you like something where you can just pick up for a minute here and there and read a tip, you can enjoy that.
All right. And again, go to Amazon.com, type in Diane Windingland, like the name that you see right there on the screen, and you'll get a chance to check out all the books you can from Diane. And while you're at it, type it Jesse Oakley III for Green Happy People. Another all shameless plug. So you're able to type in Diane Windingland for Amazon or Jesse Oakley III, and you can just get the books that you can and just learn from amazing wealth of wisdom from Diane and myself. My goodness. All right. Now, this portion of the interview is called the shout out portion. If you could give a shout out to anybody that made this journey possible for you, who would you like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to 3 people. One is Mark LeBlanc. I have not really kept in touch with him, but it was his words. You need to write a book. A book will be your best business card ever. That actually got me going. I would have to also shout out to my husband, who has been very patient with me over the years as I've worked on various projects, done things in Toastmasters. And I have a very good friend, Vitalia Bryn Pundik, who has been encouraging all along the way with my business and my efforts and promoting me to her influence circle as well.
All right. Those are 3 amazing people that are truly fantastic. Actually, it takes lots of people to actually get it together, and you have some 3 key people that are truly worth their weight in gold. My goodness. All right. Next, now this question is the last question we have to the interview, and this is directed for my people and my crew. The people that watch this, the people that follow this, are going to call the happy people, and they always love some great words of wisdom and advice from the people that I have on this podcast. And to seal this up, if you have any positive words of wisdom for my crew, my people, the happy people, what would it be?
Well, I have some old wisdom and some new wisdom. So the old wisdom, and I'm sure you've heard this, is done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Don't wait for the stars to align. Start with what you have, use what you know, and improve as you go. So that's the old wisdom. Done is better than perfect. That is ageless. Now, my new wisdom that has been developed over the past couple of years is let AI, artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, be your idea generator, your writing coach, and even your co-author. I have used ChatGPT to help me brainstorm ideas, to help me develop content, to revise content, to extend content. So you don't have to go it alone. You have tools like AI that can help you. So that's my old and new wisdom.
And that is a perfect bookend for the old and new wisdom and for this wonderful, awesome interview that with the Sunday Morning Chat Series with you, Diane Windingland. And on behalf of all the happy people that are watching this, I thank you for taking time out to be here on the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right, and this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series. Stay tuned next Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series. But for more information, please go to prconnectionsradio.com, and you can also go to YouTube or type in PR Connections on YouTube and actually subscribe, comment, and share the following links as well as podcasts on the PR Connections channel. And in addition to that, there's also another YouTube channel that's out that is brand new. It's called Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. Just go on to YouTube, type in Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III, subscribe, comment, and see all the past interviews that I've done from past people that are making big differences in their community. On behalf of everybody that's here, on behalf of you, the happy people, this is Jesse Oakley III saying, until next time, you take care of yourselves and each other. Goodbye and have a good day, everybody. Bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com. PR Connections Radio presents